предлагаю ее продлить до 2030.
Well, back in the U.S., where Mitch McConnell announced on Wednesday that he intends to step down as the longest-serving Senate Republican leader following November's general election. For nearly 20 years, Republicans have relied on the effective Kentucky legislature to navigate the passage of conservative priorities. Since his announcement, Washington has moved quickly to speculate who could replace Mr. McConnell, who has skillfully held this fracturing party together in recent times. Those vying to succeed him now face the very daunting prospect of appealing to competing wings of the party. I'm joined now by Republican Ejike Okpa for more on this development. Thank you for joining us on The World Now. Mitch McConnell, we understand, has maintained some level of power and stability in the face of, dramatic convulsions within the Republican Party. How significant is his exit at this time in U.S. Political history?
Thank you for having me. There comes a point or a time in somebody's life you just have to step aside. Nobody is indispensable. He's got his promise, his minuses and his pluses. So it's time for him, to just go. He's done some things very good. He's gotten some things very wrong. The Republican Party is not like a Democratic Party. It's a party where you get challenges, from within. The Democrats have had that, but they're not just as aggressive and forceful like the Republican Party. And Mitch McConnell is getting, he's 82 years old and he's got some health scares. He's frozen at a point while giving a speech on the Senate floor. So, it comes to where he said, my life or public service, which one is more important? There are politicians who want to die in office, and then there are people who want to step aside when the ovation is on, and then they go take care of whatever until they not depart. We've had many leaders, and once they go, some of them will remember, some of them. So, I'm happy that he's stepping aside. I met him in Dallas at an event, and I asked him a question. I said, don't you think it's time for us to have a term limit? But when the Constitution was written, they were not expecting people to stay in office for 30, 40 years. I think we have just defaulted into that longevity of people getting elected and they just stay there and make a career. Public service, you should not make a career out of it. You should do it when you are effective, when you are mentally and physically able. You don't want to look sick, because when you look sick, then you're conveying a message invariably to the audience that, all things are not going well with you. And then you should respect your own life and then step aside.
Well, there are some who would say the longer you stay, particularly as a lawmaker, the more experience and the more value you also bring to the table. But let's talk about his relationship with President Biden, because he's talked about how he's had a very productive working relationship with McConnell, and that he was sorry to hear the news of him leaving. I'm quoting him right now. He says, I've trusted him. We have a great relationship. We'll fight like hell, but he has never misrepresented anything. Do you think it's the age rank or the age range that makes these two men click?
Well, both of them have been in the Senate. If you add the number of years, both of them have been in the Senate. You have something like 100 years altogether. Biden himself has never had done anything. He's always been a member of Congress. And then there's this camaraderie thing that's between senators, and the longer you have there, you get to form some relationship. It doesn't mean they all agree, but at the same time, there's this esprit de corps, thing that exists with, and they're courteous to each other. They're not going to say some nasty stuff at this time that one of them is taking a bow. Biden himself, again, it's not because they are 80-something. It's just there are health issues that are showing up. And it's become more embarrassing for them. And they just have to, Biden, you could say it when he's speaking, you look at his facial expression, he's agonized in his thoughts. When he takes steps, he looks like he doesn't know where to put one foot or the other. And then McConnell himself has had the same issue. So You know, it's just two birds of the same feather. They are complementing each other. You know.
So there's a lot of talks about how this movement defines a season where there's an ideological transition, you know, within your party from Ronald Reagan's brand of traditional conservatism and to what is seen as a very fiery and often isolationist populism of former President Donald Trump. I've seen a picture of you with Senator John Cornyn, who is also being touted as a possible replacement. How does it fit in between these two different ideologies?
Yeah, look, individuals are going to have their own antics. You know, I am not bothered by the antics of politicians because they are human beings. They have ulterior agenda. They have agenda also that they suit for the public. So, you know, from Reagan to now, of course, that's how many years, 40 years I'm counting. You're gonna expect some changes. American demographic has changed. You know, a lot of people now are wanting to be, you know, visibly vocal, what they expect from their leadership. And you have this old guard, and I'm not talking about age now. I have people who have, you know, cornered this political arena and made it their own. And so, you know, they have views and ideology that oftentimes is in conflict with what the general public is thinking. But the thing is, how do you go back and change it from the constitutional point of view, or from, you know, people demanding that you change it? A lot of the challenges we have in America is because it's hard to make an amendment to the Constitution. I mean, you're going to need a lot of states and a lot of things to go on. I think the last amendment that was made to the Constitution took more than 90 years for it to be ratified. So, you know, we do all that talking. So all you're hoping is that the individuals who get elected go in there and do some of the work for you and do a lot of the work for themselves. Because that's what it is at the end of the day. Well, how much are the senators paid? They are paid less than $200,000. And you wonder, they give up all the opportunity to make big money in order to do this. So there's something else they're getting out of it that a lot of the public don't see. And so the Republicans, you have the moderate ones, you have the ones who are, you know, back and forth, who want to be reasonable. And then you have ones that are on the far right, just like in the Democratic Party. You have left-wing people, the far left wing, and then moderate.
Good.
All we want is let America move forward and let America have sensible policies.
All right.
Because the demographics is changing.
Very interesting days ahead of the Republican Party, particularly in an election year. Thank you so much for your thoughts on this. Ejike Okpa, Republican Public Affairs Analyst. Thank you for talking to us.
Thank you for having me.
We're back with more stories from around the world.